Donald Huish is the mayor of Douglas, Arizona, and he joins us now. And I'm really happy to have you on as we want to hear more about the situation and what the government can possibly do to help. Now, you said months ago that an emergency needs to be declared. What would you like to see from the Biden administration that would help your town in the here and now deal with this migrant surge?
Paula, good afternoon, and thank you for discussing this very, very important topic that affects not only us here on the border, but it affects the entire United States. We would love to see the ability of the administration to be able to handle this migrant situation in a more orderly fashion. What I mean by that is be able to process them with ability to have them either be sent back to their home country or allow them, if they qualify, to come into the United States. We understand in Douglas that that's not where they want to stay. They want to move through, but we don't have any transportation out of Douglas. We have a couple of shuttle vans, and that's the extent of it. So we've been able to partner with Pima County, the county just north of us in Tucson, to be able to transport those migrant crossers up to a facility in Tucson where they can be processed and reach their final destinations.
What's it like in your community right now? I mean, what has been the struggle, both for regular residents and for business, given the stoppages at the border?
Part of the issue, Paula, is that the mandate from DHS that took customs inspectors off the line and sent them to Border Patrol to help them with processing the migrant situation. That has essentially doubled our crossing times at our border. A normal crossing time at this time of year would be 20, 25 minutes, is now up to 45 minutes for your normal shopper that would come across the border. Our sales tax is directly impacted by that. We estimate upwards of 70% of our sales tax comes from our good neighbors to the south in Agua Prieta, Mexico. The truck crossing are down in our particular area, and so it's affecting that. But I want to emphasize that the local customs and border protection people are doing all within their power to help our community.
But their resources are stretched. Do you agree with the Democratic governor of Arizona? She has called out the Biden administration for not doing enough. She's also deployed the National Guard. Has that helped? And do you agree? Has that helped? And do you agree with that approach?
It's an approach that's long overdue. We would love to have the federal government, the Biden administration, take care of the situation that don't want to say that they created, but it's a situation that's real. But I'm extremely grateful to Governor Hobbs for leading out on this, along with our senators, Sinema and Kelly, Congressman Grijalva, which represents us on all the border between Mexico and Arizona. But we're also receiving help from other congressmen, Gallego, Ciscomani. They're all in tune and want to make sure that this happens. And so we are left with this problem locally to handle. And it's not our problem, but it affects our community. And what concerns me even more so, Paul, is that because those resources are fine focused into a small area, that it leaves the border vulnerable in other areas due to lack of staff and funding.
And I do note that you're saying this cuts across politics. You have Senator Mark Kelly, as you mentioned, who is a Democrat, but is also calling out the issue at the border. In terms of looking at solutions, though, Texas, the state of Texas, has been quite aggressive. The governor there, has been busing migrants to northern cities. I want to know if you support that. And also, I want to note that CNN has new reporting that the Justice Department is going to take the state of Texas they're threatening to take them to court over its new law that would give the state of Texas, the opportunity, the right to apprehend migrants and deport them themselves. I guess I'm just trying to get to hear you out on how radical you think states should get with moving on these issues.
I think the approach that the federal government needs to come in and solve this issue, I think that's our number one priority, at least in Douglas, is that they need to step up. I understand the frustration of Texas. I understand the frustration that's growing in our state due to this issue. But it would be solved very quickly if the federal government would enforce the law and have orderly, meaning line up if you want to come into our country, and we'll take you one by one and process you that way. And I think that would solve the entire issue, but it has to happen as a federal issue. This going back and forth between states and the federal government, to me, is not solving the underlying issue. I appreciate what Texas is trying to do. I appreciate Governor Hobbs and what she's trying to do to make this a better situation for our citizens.
Well, I'm sure you reflect the very reasonable attitudes of people in your community who deal with this day in and day out. Mayor Huish, thanks so much. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Paula.